Corruption is an indelible stain that can mar the integrity of any nation. Even in Europe, often heralded as a bastion of progress and prosperity, certain countries grapple with this pervasive issue. In today's video, we delve into the top 10 most corrupt countries in Europe, exposing the political scandals, systemic failures, and economic mismanagement that perpetuate corruption across these nations. Corruption levels are typically assessed through global indices, such as the Corruption Perceptions Index, CPI, published annually by Transparency International. The CPI measures perceived levels of public sector corruption, assigning scores between 0, highly corrupt, and 100, very clean. While corruption affects nations worldwide, some European countries rank particularly low, signaling entrenched governance challenges. Before we begin, a quick reminder. We dedicate immense effort to bringing you well-researched, high-quality content. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel to support our work. Now, fasten your seatbelts as we unveil a side of Europe that often goes unnoticed. Number 10. Hungary. Hungary, celebrated for its breathtaking thermal springs and rich cultural heritage, faces severe corruption issues that have intensified in recent years. With an estimated population of 9.6 million as of January 2024, Hungary once boasted a relatively clean governance record post-communism. However, under the leadership of Prime Minister Viktor Orban and his ruling Fidesz party, the nation's political and economic fabric has significantly eroded. International watchdogs, including Transparency International and the European Union, have raised alarms about Hungary's increasing authoritarian tendencies and concentration of power. The government has been accused of systemic clientelism, where public resources are funneled to political allies. Public contracts are often awarded without transparency or competition, further entrenching corruption. Hungary's CPI score of 42 this year, unchanged from the previous year, places it 76th out of 180 countries. Mismanagement of European Union funds remains a glaring issue, with frequent allegations of misuse for projects that disproportionately benefit government supporters. Additionally, media ownership has become highly concentrated, silencing dissent and investigative journalism. Journalists investigating corruption often face intimidation, legal hurdles, or worse, making accountability elusive. Number 9. North Macedonia. Known as the land of lakes and mountains, North Macedonia boasts over 50 lakes and 16 towering mountain ranges, yet beneath its natural splendor lies a nation mired in corruption. With a population of 1.8 million, systemic corruption plagues every layer of governance, from the judiciary to public procurement. Political patronage dominates, with government positions and contracts frequently distributed as rewards to loyalists rather than on merit. This entrenched favoritism undermines the efficiency of state institutions and perpetuates inequality. The judiciary remains particularly vulnerable, with widespread allegations of political interference and bribery. Judges often rule in favor of influential figures, eroding public trust in the rule of law. Public procurement, a significant driver of corruption, lacks transparency, as contracts are often awarded without open bidding. According to the CPI, North Macedonia holds a score of 42, improving slightly by 2 points from last year, ranking it 76th globally. Number 8. Albania. Renowned for its unique history and religious tolerance, Albania is home to 2.4 million people. Despite its rich cultural heritage, corruption continues to define its political and economic systems. Political elites leverage state resources to reward loyalists, exacerbating inequality and inefficiency. Patronage rather than merit is the hallmark of public appointments, perpetuating cycles of waste and mismanagement. Elections in Albania are frequently marred by allegations of vote buying and manipulation, with state resources deployed to influence outcomes. Meanwhile, law enforcement agencies are plagued by accusations of bribery and collusion with organized crime, particularly in the lucrative drug trade. These systemic issues have stymied progress, leaving Albania ranked 143rd globally in population and continuing to struggle with governance integrity. Number 7. Kosovo. Despite its rugged beauty and youthful demographic, boasting the youngest population in Europe, Kosovo faces endemic corruption since its independence in 2008. With a population primarily of ethnic Albanians, 93%, corruption permeates the political, judicial, and economic landscapes. Political elites and powerful families dominate governance, wielding undue influence over public contracts and economic decisions. Public procurement is a hotspot for corruption, where government contracts are frequently awarded based on political connections rather than merit. Kosovo's CPI score of 41 places it 83rd globally, reflecting its ongoing struggle with governance reforms. Number 6. Serbia. Serbia, celebrated for its majestic natural landmarks like the Divolja Veros rock formations, faces entrenched corruption despite aspirations of EU membership. With a population of 6.66 million in 2023, Serbia's judiciary and healthcare systems remain hotbeds of inefficiency and unethical practices. The judiciary often succumbs to political pressure, while high-profile corruption cases frequently go unresolved due to the influence of powerful elites. Meanwhile, patients in public hospitals are often coerced into paying bribes for medical services. With a CPI score of 36, Serbia ranks 104th globally, underscoring the depth of its governance challenges. Number 5. Romania. Romania, renowned for its rich cultural heritage, stunning natural landscapes, historic landmarks, and the enchanting allure of legends like Dracula, presents an extraordinary range of experiences for travelers. Yet, behind its picturesque facade lies a nation plagued by persistent corruption, affecting almost every facet of public life. From politics and public administration to the judiciary, law enforcement, and business sectors, corruption remains an endemic issue. Despite the introduction of significant anti-corruption measures, especially after Romania joined the European Union in 2007, the country continues to wrestle with deep-rooted systemic challenges. These issues have severely hindered Romania's democratic development, stymied economic growth, and impaired its ability to enact meaningful reforms. Corruption in Romania often manifests as patronage networks, where politicians reward loyalists with government positions, public contracts, or other benefits in exchange for unwavering political allegiance. This system has made it nearly impossible to achieve true transparency and accountability in government decision-making processes. While vote buying and electoral fraud were historically rampant in Romanian elections, these practices have somewhat diminished in recent years. However, clientelism and manipulation of the electorate still persist, undermining the integrity of the political process. High-profile corruption scandals involving prime ministers, and members of parliament have frequently come to light. These figures have been investigated or convicted for serious offenses like embezzlement, bribery, and abuse of office. Yet, these cases are often bogged down in protracted trials, marred by delays in justice or reduced sentences due to political interference. Romania's Corruption Perceptions Index, CPI, score of 46 for this year, unchanged from the previous year, places the country at 63rd out of 180 countries. Corruption is equally pervasive in the education system, where students sometimes resort to bribing professors to secure grades, gain university admission, or access specific academic opportunities. While reforms have been implemented to foster greater transparency in the educational system, corruption remains entrenched, especially within public universities and lower levels of education. Number 4. Bulgaria. Famed for its high-quality rose oil, largely produced in the Rose Valley near Kazanlak, Bulgaria has established itself as a cultural gem. Visitors flock to celebrate the annual Rose Festival and witness the celebration of Bulgaria's iconic roses and its prized rose oil industry. However, beneath its idyllic exterior, corruption continues to be a profound issue. With a population of 6.45 million in 2023, down from 7.25 million a decade ago, Bulgaria faces major challenges in curbing corruption, which impacts politics, public administration, law enforcement, the judiciary, business practices, and public services. Despite some reform efforts, the problem persists, thwarting democratic development, hindering economic growth, and impeding Bulgaria's European Union integration. Since joining the EU in 2007, Bulgaria has been monitored under the Cooperation and Verification Mechanism, designed to evaluate progress in judicial reform and anti-corruption efforts. However, the influence of oligarchs, wealthy business elites who maintain close ties with political leaders, remains a significant obstacle. These oligarchs exert considerable influence over key industries such as energy, construction, and media, using their wealth and political connections to shape legislation, public procurement, and privatization in their favor. Number 3. Russia. Russia, home to a population of 146.4 million as of 2023, is marked by deep-seated corruption, arguably one of the most pervasive and entrenched challenges in the country. Corruption in Russia spans all levels of government, from petty bribery to high-level embezzlement, and it infiltrates the political elite, business oligarchs, and public officials alike. Despite efforts to address this issue, particularly in the post-Soviet era, Russia continues to grapple with political control, lack of independent oversight, and the concentration of power within a narrow circle of elites. With a dismal CPI score of 26, Russia ranks as the most corrupt nation in Europe. Patronage networks dominate the political landscape, with politicians exchanging state resources and contracts for loyalty and financial support from business figures. This cronyism fuels inefficiencies in governance and significantly undermines democratic processes. Even the highest levels of government are tainted by corruption, with prominent officials, including President Vladimir Putin and his inner circle, frequently accused of being involved in large-scale corruption scandals, including embezzlement, bribery, and kickbacks. Number 2. Moldova. Nestled between Romania and Ukraine, Moldova is often overlooked on the map, yet it is home to a rich history, archaeological sites, and distinct culinary traditions. The population of Moldova stands at 2.54 million in 2023, down from 2.87 million a decade ago. Corruption in Moldova is a pervasive, deeply entrenched issue that affects nearly every level of governance and public life. Political instability, economic hardship, and the dominance of oligarchic networks have hindered the country's progress toward reform. Moldova remains one of the poorest nations in Europe, and its historical ties to the Soviet Union, compounded by ongoing political divisions, particularly regarding its relationship with Russia versus the European Union, have facilitated the proliferation of corruption. The country consistently ranks poorly in international corruption indices, with concerns about the government's ability, or willingness, to confront the issue. Oligarchs wield significant influence over Moldova's political system, often using their wealth to manipulate elections, secure government contracts, and even control political parties. Number 1. Ukraine. Widely regarded as the breadbasket of Europe due to its fertile land and major wheat production, Ukraine has faced relentless corruption, which has been a major obstacle to its political stability, economic development, and social trust. Despite various reform attempts, the country remains plagued by corruption, which permeates every level of the state, from politics and business to law enforcement and public services. Ukraine's strategic location between Russia and the European Union, combined with the legacy of Soviet rule, has created a fertile breeding ground for corruption. While significant reforms followed the Euromaidan Revolution of 2014, and Ukraine has faced mounting international pressure to address its corruption, the process has been slow. Powerful oligarchs often thwart attempts at meaningful reform, using their influence to maintain control over key sectors such as the gas industry, where overpricing and kickbacks are rampant. The healthcare system also suffers from corruption, where patients are routinely forced to pay bribes for timely treatment and better care. Corruption, often referred to as a silent killer of nations, continues to challenge Europe's promise of progress and transparency. These rankings serve as a stark reminder of the systemic issues undermining governance across the continent. Yet, in acknowledging these flaws, there lies an opportunity for reform and resilience. With unwavering commitment to accountability, transparency, and institutional integrity, these nations can pave the way for a brighter, more equitable future. If you found this deep dive insightful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated on similar explorations of critical global issues.